true. It's better than I ever even knew. They say that the world was made for two. Only life worth living if somebody is loving you. Maybe now you do.
Take us through your musical history. Your dad taught you to play guitar, right? Partly.
Yes and no. I mean,
Well, we'll start from the beginning.
I don't know. My dad always wanted me to
You
play
grew
guitar.
up in Mexico and you snuck over the border.
Exactly.
Yep.
Guitars were like I couldn't bring my guitar with me. I had to
Oh,
leave on the other side
Guatemala.
of the Rio Grande.
He had to go through both countries.
Right. So
And on his way up north,
I was on,
you had to
I
pay
was on
off.
a railroad car.
You had to pay off some child smugglers at one point, and to get the United States.
Wow.
So your real
Yeah.
dad is Carlos Santana.
Yes, he has been called that before. He does wear a Carlos Santana hat. No, but my dad always wanted me to play guitar, so but his guitar was too big for me when I was little, so like that was my problem.
It's probably still too big.
I would play it like this, which is the bad habit to get into. So my older brother from Wenatchee bought me a little kid-sized guitar, and it sat for a while, and then it's so funny because I got into school band and I was really into it, and like in 6th grade we were like a month into learning how to read music, and I had never been introduced to music before. So I was learning at the bottom with all these other 6th graders, and I like shot ahead of the class so much that I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn another instrument because this is moving too slow. So I moved from the clarinet to the trombone. And so after I learned, okay, I can read a book, I can read a musical book and learn how to read musical instruments. And so I was like, okay, I'll go buy myself a guitar book. So I literally bought a guitar book and like using my 6th grade band knowledge, used it to learn the guitar. Like, so I learned like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and like all the basic stuff. And then like, thanks to 6th grade band, Miss Warness, teaching 6th graders just to freaking play one note, like for 4 counts is like impossible. But for me, I like shot ahead of the class. So, I picked up 2 instruments in the first month, and then I picked up the guitar using trombone music. So I started playing my freaking school band music with the guitar. So I learned like... That was the song my dad taught me. So, yeah, 6th grade band got me into guitar for some reason. I had never known what band was even, and like at 6th grade registration they were like, she had some instruments sitting out on her table and she's like, this is where you sign up, and I was like, that looks like fun. So 2 weeks in and kids are still learning Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I was like, okay, when do we learn key signatures? Like
She said she loves you, but then declined you. This bitter love.
it's a really catchy song, I just haven't listened to it enough.
I'm not good at it.
You should look at Lee Lister's music. Like
I don't even try to sing.
I was
I
like,
like singing.
damn, dude, that guy can write some music.
My
but
gift is I
his
can
lyrics
swing a
are
hammer.
deep.
Words.
Bitter love.
I don't know. It's good though, I promise.
Hold a candle that's burning out both Fight the flame. back on. Dom, you're running out of time, she said. This crystal ball will fall and shatter. The love we once had never mattered. You threw it all away in the fire.
It's a good one. You should look it up.
You can find this and more at patreon.com/videostreetmusic.
At the $3 a month level.
That's right.
No, it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I've always wondered how people write songs because I feel like my way's so unconventional. You know, like country singers, like, cause there's like country songs galore, and they trade them with each other, and like, you know, there's these very personable songs, but they're sang by anybody that the record label gives them to. You know what I mean? So I can't force a song. Like, all of my songs have come from like a place of like deep feeling. So, and it's something I can't replicate, so I can't sit down and say, I'm gonna write a song today. Like, it just happens to be like a moment that I'm in, and I'm like on a feeling, and the song usually, for the most part, happens. I mean, I have had a few songs where I've had to work at it, and I've had to record them and listen to them a couple times and then add to it, but for the most part, like, you know, like Never Alone was like written in one sitting. And I was feeling really down that night, and it's kind of cool to. Oh no!
Dog.
Puppy!
Boys!
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What they do?
At least it's not paved.
Naughty dogs.
Rats.
Have you always been solo, or were you actually in a band? I know you took pictures for a band, but you weren't in one.
I've never been able to make a band work. They always move on without me in every experience that I've ever had.
And they always suck and they die,
band
by the
continues
way.
without me because I don't know. My music stands alone. It's hard to find somebody that can get in on it with me, like on the same vibe. Because all of my songs are. I use the word a lot, but all my songs are based on vibes. So they're usually written when I'm feeling a strong vibe, you know. So like, you know, Never Alone is written about like sometimes you do feel alone, like you feel like you're all by yourself, but one thing I've come to realize, you know, with social media, lots of people get to share their experiences, and one thing I've noticed is that like you're really not alone. There's other people that feel the same way, and I feel like there's some kind of strange comfort in that, knowing that I'm not the only person feeling this way. So, I mean, I feel like social media has had a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of benefits from social media, and I think that's one of those things, you know. They say that social media is making people antisocial, and it's making people, making people less social, but I feel like it actually can have an opposite effect as well. I feel like you can feel like, I don't know. I see people that go through mental illnesses and stuff, and they post about how they're feeling, and I relate to them a lot. And so it makes me feel comforted that I'm not the only person feeling this way, you know.
So you think social media has actually opened a lot of people up?
I think so too. You know, this is stuff, you know, mental illness is not something people talk about. And I've been seeing a lot more people open about their healing processes and also about how they're feeling, and I relate to it on a lot. So, you know, I wrote Never Alone because, like, you know, sometimes you do feel alone, like you're the only person in the world that feels this way, but I realized that, and that, you know, you feel like it's not okay, that you're different than everyone else, but it turns out that you actually have a lot in common with other people, and I feel like there's some kind of strange comfort in that, you know, knowing that you're not the only person going through what you're going through, and like, it may seem like that in the moment, but it's pretty cool to know that, like, you're not alone, you know. So, obviously, like, you can't be afraid to stand on your own 2 feet. Like, I think that hits close to home because sometimes it's scary to like be by yourself, you know. But I feel like you know, you can't be afraid of being alone. And I know that like you feel like you're alone, but you're really not. There are other people going through what you're going through. And I think that's really cool. And I know how it feels. And like the words that are like you know, I've got my feet on the ground, but my head's in the clouds. You know, like sometimes I feel like I'm floating along, but when you come back to Earth and you realize I'm actually walking a pretty straight line. You know, sometimes I feel lost, but then you know, I come back to reality and I'm like, you know what? I'm walking a pretty straight path right now. It just sometimes doesn't feel that way. And I feel like, you know, I used to think that, you know, something's wrong with me because I sometimes get lost in my head, but then I look back, I come out of that depression fog and I realize, you know, my feet were on the ground the whole time. And it just didn't feel that way at first. And sometimes you need other people around you to make you realize that, you know. So when you spend a lot of time alone and you're by yourself, it's easy to get lost in your head. But you just gotta realize your feet are on the ground, you're not losing yourself, and it's okay to feel that way, but eventually you gotta come back down. So, like I said, my music definitely comes from vibes that I'm feeling, so I can't just, you know, in the middle of one afternoon pick up the guitar and be like, I'm gonna write a song today.
So when you're in the mood and you're feeling it, do you pay much attention to technical aspect and lyrics and rhyming structure and all that stuff, or you just kind of start writing?
So like, I guess it all just depends, but I mean, Monster just came from a loop, so like it was literally just like and then I eventually started adding to like this kind of stuff. The F chord and the G chord came later. So that was just kind of like the vibe I was on that day. I was just kind of like feeling like funky, you know? And you know, like I said, like sometimes I wish I could get my message out a little bit clearer with my music. But the way it comes out is just perfect for me.
Are you talking as far as lyrically?
Yeah. The lyrics usually stick the first time they come out, and they're hard for me to tweak afterwards. Like, I mean, I wish I could tweak them.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, but once I've like spoken the lyrics out loud, they kind of just get stuck, and maybe the message isn't as clear as I would hope it was. The feeling for me is very personal, so I feel like the song fits very well. So like, you know, for Monster, like, you know, I don't think people growing up, when I grew up, didn't really realize how much they were affecting me, cause, you know, I kind of had a really shitty, like, upbringing. Yeah, I personally was doing really good, and I was a really good kid, and so, I don't think people realized how much they were, like, affecting me on the inside, and so, you know, the song is about, like, you'll never know what kind of monster you've made, because, you know, I hide my demons pretty well, but you know, I feel like we all have skeletons in our closet. We all have demons, and I feel like I hide mine pretty well. And so this song was kind of like, you know, like, hey, like these memories remain. Like, even though I'm doing good now, I don't think you'll ever know really what you've done. And I think people don't really realize how much of an impact they have on people in the moment. So like, you know, now here I am in my 20s and I live a pretty drama-free life, and it's really nice that way. But growing up, I was stuck in the drama, and I just don't think, you know, like my family, they love me, but I just don't think they understood. It wasn't on their radar, you know, like that kind of stuff really like brings a person down, you know. And then, you know, I was thinking of making an EP because, you know, I have my 3 songs I recorded today, and then I have that 4th song that I'm still working on. But I was thinking of, you know, my EP would be the 4 songs, and it would be changes, because you can start with my Monster song, which is like my earliest song when I was going through a lot of turmoil and I was starting to come out of it, and then I would want to end it with Better Things, because I know that there are better things that this life can bring, and I know that even though it's getting tough, it seems, keep moving on towards better things, you know. Like I said about, you know, sometimes you feel really alone and you feel by yourself, but I know that, like, once you ground yourself and you come back down to earth, you realize that there are lots of better things in this life, and I feel like sometimes your biggest enemy is yourself. And so I think if you listen to my songs, you can definitely hear the message change and they become more positive as I've grown up. So, you know, I have like that song Numb, which was all about coming home day after day to just crap, and I used to let it consume me, and I never like looked forward to the future because every day was worse than the next. But now that I've grown up and I've got a little bit older and I've got my feet on the ground a little bit more, like, I know that it's all about perspective, but I know that there are better things in this world, and so that's where Better Things came from, because even though it's getting tough, it seems, I'll keep moving on towards better things. And I think that's a pretty good mantra to have. You know, life can get hard. Sometimes life is all about its ups and downs. And you just got to keep on moving forward. And I think that's, you know, I was thinking about getting that tattooed because that's really stuck with me. Like, after my grandpa died, one of my, like, old uncles came down from Arizona, and he said that at the service. He's like, both our parents are in the ground, so what do we do? And he's like, well, the only way we can go is forward. And I think that really stuck with me, and it gave Better Things also another meaning too for me as well. You know, like, things can get tough, but the only way you can go is forward, and like, you gotta look forward to better things. You can't look forward to worse things. And it took me a while to get out of that headspace, and I feel like, you know, my songs, I unintentionally incorporated those messages into them, because I can't just sit down and be like, okay, today I'm gonna write a song about dancing, you know. It just kind of happens, and like, after the fact, I was like, oh, that's what that song is about. None of my songs were supposed to have a theme. None of them were supposed to have anything.
You said at times you just throw it on a loop and then you start singing to it, right?
Like this one. And then I started doing that, and I was like, ooh, this is nice. I can feel myself in free fall on the way down. Feels like I lost myself, but I'm just overloaded. Snap back to reality. Sit and daydream, I'm feeling crazy. Stuck in my routine like nothing bad ever happened to me. I'm tired of struggling, getting on to get my head on straight. I've been losing my focus, but the only thing that I can say, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'm never gonna get away. I always let it go. The memories that remain, you might never know what kind of monster you made. That's okay, I'll let it go. And when things never change, you won't ever know what kind of monster of the songs that I just got stuck on a loop, which is why it doesn't change much now. But I feel like the lyrics tell enough of a story that it's okay to keep the chords looping. But you know, like, sometimes, like, you know, even as a kid, like, all these stresses can be really overwhelming, and like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, was that even me? You know, so it's like, I don't feel myself on the way down. Feels like I lost myself, but I'm just overloaded. I snap back to reality. Was it a daydream? I'm feeling crazy. I get in my routine like nothing bad ever happened to me. So like, I think that's one of the great things about working customer service, is that you kind of have to be happy, but I also really feel like I'm in my element when I get in, you know, behind the counter at Starbucks. I feel like I snap back to reality, and like, I think to myself, like, you know, I was letting all this crap get to me and I was getting really overwhelmed, and then I get in my routine and I'm like, well, who was that, you know? Like, why was I letting stuff like that bother me? So the song is about people not really realizing, like, what kind of monster you can make out of somebody. And I feel like, you know, you should just be nice to everyone around you, because, you know, there are certain people, even in my job, that, you know, well, in my job, in my past jobs as well, I mean, there's just certain people that have a different state of mind, and
that one over there?
Taylor Larkins, you gotta watch out for him. No, but some people don't realize that, like, by being an asshole to somebody around you, you're like creating a monster, when like you could be being nice to somebody and supporting them and building them up, you know? This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself. I'm used to do it. Better. Give it a shot, do not miss your chance. Oh, this opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
Every time I hear that song, I think about Weird Al's version.
Weird Al is like my life, my childhood.
I forgot about Weird Al.
Oh, isn't Weird Al supposed to be Christian, right?
No.
Right. Well, when I went to youth camp, they passed his CD out, so
That means he was.
He was, and then he got They See Me Rolling, They See Me Mowing, in the front yard. Play my hood jam.
About all these songs being on a vibe, that one I wrote on Valentine's Day, and I had to get it done by 6 o'clock, so I super duper rushed it.
Wow, a deadline song.
It was a deadline song. I was like, it's Valentine's Day, and I didn't get anything for Valentine's Day, so I'm gonna write a song. And so I came up with that loop really quick.
Like a last minute paper.
Stop!
Is that what that song is?
No.
My life.
Darling, I see you through
You're pulling all these songs out of the dark
Oh
song.
man, my whole life was a lie. My Valentine's Day gift was a lie. I stole it from
No,
somebody.
it's not stolen. It's just a similar chord progression.
Yeah.
They're not exactly the same.
Do you consider that one fleshed out or no?
No, also it just happened too. You know, like yes, I squeezed it out, I guess, but
It's like orange juice.
But would
but
you?
I was feeling it
I don't
too.
like orange
Also,
juice.
you know, so
Note to
That's
self.
not your personal. But do you consider your Valentine song finished, or are you going to develop it more?
it needs better lyrics for the
Ooh.
verses, for
Yeah,
sure.
you can make that your like third song.
Well, my fourth song, I'm just like I'm trying to
Well, I know, but like
decide-
third song on the EP.
Oh, gotcha.
right?
Order wise.
Yeah.
Well, actually, literally, Greg helped me write it. Like, no joke. He
Greg
just
helped
like
you write his
he was
own.
like mocking me. He was like mocking me, and he was like,
You're a terrible roommate.
"Then there was you. Then there was you." And I started playing it, and I was like, "Oh,
I like that.
that sounds pretty good." And so I was like, "And then there was you. Then there was you." Yeah, but I mean, I like it because I don't know. I feel like you can feel it, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's not just chords. I feel like it's deeper than chords. That's a song I really can appreciate. Is a song that like can put off a feeling more than anything else, you know. I hear people play songs all the time, like cover songs and stuff, and like I can just hear the clunkiness of the chords.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate a song where you don't really notice
What's a clunk?
the chords. You more notice how the song makes you feel. And
Is there a band or a song that's actually legitimately impacted your life?
I don't know if I could say impacted. I would say that the band He Is We. You guys heard of He Is We?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sang on stage with them.
He Is We. When I was 14, they were literally just two kids who worked at a music store, and they were jamming together and putting music on MySpace.
Oh.
Yeah, MySpace days. I mean, it was a long time ago. And one day they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go play at a coffee shop in Spokane, or some kind of little shop in Spokane." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going." So I went, and you know, that was before they were famous. They were just two kids writing songs, and their music was really powerful to me. Like they had very clear message in their music. And I really liked it, and they are definitely some musicians that I looked up to, because now, here we are, flash forward like 5 years, and they're signed to Universal Motown in New York City. They've been overseas, they've traveled the US on tour. They broke up, got back together, and their music is really powerful, and my favorite song by them is Breathe, because she was saying how she had written a song and it had a different message when she wrote it, but she remembers playing a show and these two girls came up and they were really excited to see them, and they were like, "Oh, you're wearing a He Is We t-shirt, you're so cool." And she said, well, she's like, you know, 2 years later we had another show in the same place, and the one girl came up and we were like, "Hey, where's your friend?" And she's like, "Well, she killed herself last year."
Oh, dang.
And she had their lyrics tattooed on her of that song, and so they ended up like dedicating that song and the tour to this girl, because you know, one of the things, the girl's name is Rachel, and one thing that she said that stuck with me is, you know, we see people, hey, we ask people, "Hey, how are you?" But do we really take the time to actually wonder how somebody is actually doing? You know, I at work, there's this one day, this girl, I was like, hey, how are you? And she's like, I'm good. And she half smiled, and I was like, what's wrong? And I was like, we need to talk. And so after work, we hung out. I was like, I can feel something's wrong with you. And I'm never gonna walk by a person that feels that way. Like, if you can pick up on a vibe, are we really making sure our friends are okay? So, Breathe really strikes home for me. Strikes your self-esteem, constantly waiting for an ending to all this. She opens her eyes, suddenly she cries, can we help her, can we help her? She replied, you know, I fake it oh so well, God himself can tell what I mean and why my words are less than parallel with my feet. I'll ask you what I need, and all I really need is to breathe. They seem so interested, but only a few get invested with all the aches and pains. Doctor, oh doctor, please help her. I fear she may not be breathing. Blue lips and doe eyes, that's her disguise. You know, I fake it oh so well. God himself can tell what I mean and why my words are less than parallel with my feet. You'll ask me what I mean when all I really need is to breathe. You know, it's like I fake it so well that God can't tell that my words aren't parallel. Like, and I think that makes sense to me if you really think about it. You know, like, people ask you if you're okay, and hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. But like, sometimes we fake it so much that, you know, like, even God can't tell. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm fine, but really on the inside, are you really fine? And you know, people don't really care about other people enough to really be like, seriously, are you okay? So you know, like, today could be somebody's last day, and like, I want to live my life thinking that I can make an impression like that on somebody, that, you know, and this doesn't mean that like you have to be everybody's healer. What I'm saying is, if you can tell somebody needs a friend, like, why would you walk by that, you know? So, you know, I think they're a very profound music group to me, because their music actually carries a message, and they started from the bottom. They live in Seattle, and they were headlining the Elcor Zone in Seattle, and she saw me in the crowd, and she was like, she's like, Nicholas Garcia, you have to get up here. She was like, you have to get up here. You were with us at the beginning. She's like, you're one of the reasons we still make music. And I think it goes both ways. They're one of the reasons I make music. I want to make music like them, or at least I want to carry a message like they do. And, you know,
so he is we if you're listening.
Yeah.
You guys got a tour together.
Yeah. I know, right? I know. She needs to hit me back up.
You guys need to save lives.
They went through a falling out or something, and so they kind of split up, and then she kind of went on her own path, and she's re-touring again. So I've been trying to make it to one of her shows, but surprisingly, on their new tour, there's no Washington show or Oregon. They're like nowhere near, which is really weird to me.
The nerve.
The nerve!
If you see
And like, I was 15, so I'd never been on stage, and I didn't know about standing in front of a monitor to hear yourself. So I didn't hear myself through the whole entire song, and I literally thought my mic was off, but then I watched the video back and you could hear me and I was way out of key. It was so embarrassing. Oh my god. And I like, my friends were in the crowd and they were screaming like banshees, and I was really embarrassed by it. And I look back and I'm like, fuck, I need to redeem myself because now I know what a monitor is. I watched the video and I was like, dude, the monitor's right there and I'm right there. Like, you need to just move over, Nicholas. But I think they're awesome. So I would like to say that like if a musical group did impact me, it would probably be Rachel Taylor and Trevor Kelly.
That's probably what did it for them. They were like, okay, never mind, he's terrible.
I know, they were like, we're not having him back up there again. That was a bad idea. The trombones were like,
the band kids.
Why?
I don't know, it was just like this rivalry. This unspoken rivalry.
How do you know if it was real? Maybe it was just you.
Well,
was
now
a
that they're out of
rumor
high school,
unspoken.
everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm joking.
Went to online school.
You
Shut
said
up.
yeah.
words and notes.
I've started, so a lot of my songs were just, I would write when I was depressed or going through, my life was crashing or whatever. So I had content to write about.
Right.
And then I've only recently started writing more kind of, I don't know about poetic, but kind of cryptic lyrics.
That's the word.
Because I've been
poetic.
playing open mics, and I don't want to go up to open mics and be like, I don't understand why the world is like this, and then have all these people in the crowd be like, hey, you know,
Right.
That was
political
sad.
stuff and the religious stuff and all these things that trigger people. And so I've been kind of encrypting things and making it more poetic, and it's helped make it easier just to write lyrics.
I'm not gonna say his name, but I wrote a song about a breakup with a friend in 8th grade. Just breathe, it's not the end of the world in you. You're a man, not a girl, so please leave me alone for a while, 'cause I haven't smiled in days because of you. The one regret I won't ever forget will be letting you go, because I know I could have saved some tears. You say sorry, everything will work out. You started crying and it made me freak out, because I never thought it'd come to this. A bunch of lies, face to my fist, and tell me something. How did you not see it coming on the quiet like this? I never thought it'd come to this, but you gotta get over it.
Fourth song.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, if anybody watching, if you happen to be in a band with me and we got in a civil dispute that could have been patched up, but we never patched it up because we were being children, that was when I was really feeling it.
He's avoiding my questions.
See,
Bass guitar with just two
you guys
strings.
want to hear the first song I ever wrote? It's
Is it-
amazing. No, it's
It's
not.
got the whole world.
Well, okay, give us some context first.
So,
You're 14.
12 and a
okay,
half.
I piggybacked this song. It was so funny because coincidentally, okay, my parents raised a little girl. Okay, so she's my sister, but she's not biological. So my mom somehow met this really old couple who acquired a granddaughter who was a couple weeks old, and they needed help. They needed help with her because they're this really old couple. They're an elderly couple, and so we were babysitting / raising her, and she lived with us until she was in the 5th grade. And because her biological mother, I'm not sure what the story was, but her biological mother was from California, so she was down here with her grandparents, and we helped raise her until about 5th grade. And then one day her mother decided she wanted her back, and we had no legal rights over her. So at 12 years old or 11 years old, she just picked her up and swooped her up and took her to California. She had been raised here. And so I wrote this song called California, and it's not that great, but...
How old are you?
How old was I?
Yeah.
14. Let's see, no, I was a freshman in high school, so I must have been more like 16.
No, 14.
Freshman in high school?
Yeah.
Let's just say it was last year, and then we can really laugh at you.
Right. I got this professionally recorded at the music store when I was 15 or whatever it was, and I look back because I had so much potential, and like I look back on that opportunity and I'm like, fuck, dude, I could have done so much better had I been a little older, so.
Hey, he is we.
We had one last day in town, and I was feeling down, so I picked myself up and walked across the town. And on your last day, I walked 3 miles away just to see you go, so that I could say goodbye. But now tonight, you'll go back to California. I know they miss you there, and the sunny weather's calling you to become happy there. And I know it's hard to leave, and it's sad to see you go, but California's calling you to come back home. We had one last day. I hope that you wouldn't cry, because I know you had to leave, and I'll never question why. I just want to tell you, my friend, goodbye. Hey, goodbye. Now tonight, go back to California. I know they miss you there, and the sunny weather's calling you to become happy there. And I know it's hard to leave, and it's sad to see you go, but California's calling you to come back home. Go back to the big city. I know that you'll be a shining star. Go back to the big city. I know that they'll miss their shining star. Go.
That was pretty good.
That was the first song I ever wrote.
When I was 14, I wrote God versus Godzilla.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Was it a metal
was
song?
hopping around.
Sounds like the name of a metal song.
It wouldn't have mattered.
When I was 14, I didn't write a song because I still haven't written a song. I don't know how to play guitar.
Tyler Watkins,
Cool
everybody.
story, bro.
Thank
Cool
you.
story, bro.
This is the right place to hold the mic,
I
right?
admire you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I admire your ability to witness that you don't have any originality.
I don't have musical talent. Can't
Hey,
even clap and sing.
jokes.
But you can't sing. You can sing and sing.
Wow. I can't sing two different parts at the same time. No, I've tried.